Never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it when it can have a very positive impact.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
The way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to win over hearts and minds. And what that means is we've got to invest in countries that have no educational infrastructure and have no means for young people to get ahead. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Stay tuned for politics and religion.
This news comes to us from Amsterdam today. The top, or at least one of the top, UN climate officials has resigned. Top UN climate change official De Boer told the Associated Press on Thursday that he was resigning after nearly 4 years, a period when governments struggled without success to agree to a new global warming deal. His departure takes effect July 1, 5 months before a 193-nation meeting will be held in Mexico for another attempt to reach a binding worldwide accord on controlling greenhouse gases. De Boer's resignation adds to the uncertainty that a full treaty can be finalized there. De Boer is known to be deeply disappointed with the outcome of the last summit in Copenhagen, which drew 120 world leaders but failed to reach more than a vague promise by several countries to limit carbon emissions, and even that deal fell short of consensus. So the entire climate change industry is in disarray. It's been revelation after revelation. Now, these people all hold something in common. They believe that there should be a one world governmental system on this earth. They also believe that climate change legislation would become the international structure of law that would enable the international community to impose its will upon all the nations of the world. Since every entity in the world emits CO2, they had promoted the myth that CO2 was causing the world to warm, and that the world was going to warm so much that the ice caps would melt, and thus the sea levels would rise and invade many areas presently inhabited by man, and therefore this would end up actually threatening the very existence of man. However, much of the science that they were using to try to prove this theory has now been discredited. The dam broke on their aura of secrecy about 3 weeks or so before Copenhagen. They had focused their attention on the meeting in Copenhagen, which was held December 7th through December the 18th. And they had hoped to sign an international climate change treaty there that would be binding. This would create an international environmental protection agency that would then have life or death power over every single entity. It could hand out carbon credits to businesses, give them their particular allotments, and then require them to pay a steep tax in order to buy additional credits if their particular industry exceeded its limit. So they really would have a life and death grip on the throat of every business on earth. If they set the limits too low so that they had to start buying carbon credits too quickly, then those people could no longer compete in their industry, and it would actually give them the power over every single entity on earth. Now, that we're not just talking about business here. We're talking about you and me. We're talking about our homes, our cars. They even wanted to tax cows $175 a piece because they put off too much gas. I mean, these people, you talk about living out there in the ozone layer. They've lost all touch with reality. Well, the dam broke about 3 weeks before Copenhagen because someone got a hold of emails that was circulated among the climate scientists and found such terms as "we have to hide the decline. Now that it's come out, Mr. Phil Jones, who is on temporary leave because he's been so discredited from the University of East Anglia in Great Britain, he now is admitting there's been no global warming since 1995, a period of time, a 15-year period of time when CO2 emissions have grown dramatically. The truth is, CO2 emissions do not cause global warming. In the converse state, the warming takes place first, which then causes CO2 to rise. If you look at the graphs carefully, you can see that. The rise in temperature goes before CO2. CO2 follows, does not lead. The entire theory is wrong. Now it's all coming crashing down. Will this set world government back? Probably not, because it's prophesied in the Bible. It'll happen some way. On January